If you come from the first video I made about Simulanka, welcome back! But please don't forget to get some rest if you're not doing anything else right now and touch some grass. If you come here as a newcomer or didn't know what I'm talking about just now, welcome! I highly recommend you to watch this video first, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to. I do have to say, however, you might get a better experience if you do that because there will be a lot of necessary context from that video mentioned in this video, but I'll try my best to explain the necessary context from the previous video in the shortest way possible. So yeah, there will be spoilers from the main quest, which I highly assume you already done them. Today we'll be talking about the side quests of Simulanka. We have 3 out of 4 side quests of this event unvoiced, and I know it can be very difficult to read through everything without any voiceovers, trust me, even I do, but don't worry, that's why I am here. Thankfully, reading through these quests are not that big of a deal, so it's an easy job for me to recap everything. There will be theories as well, and as always, this sound effect will remind you whether we change subjects or not. Now, I know that these are world quests, but I would argue that these quests have a more transparent lore foreshadowing than the main quest itself. Probably. So get your snacks ready to get some good recap and theories along the way. Of course, the obligatory disclaimer. Don't forget that half of this video will be all about theories based on what we know so far. It's also worth noting if I mention anything that is related to real-life history, they're simply references and don't represent the actual in-game product. Don't take them seriously and take them with a huge grain of salt. Secondly, this is leak-free zone. Please don't comment anything about leak content. They're not yet confirmed, and I would personally refrain myself from using leaks for my lore recap and theory crafting. My traveler of choice is Ether, so I'll be referring to Traveler as he in this video. Before we start, don't forget to give this video a like and comment so the channel can be noticed by the algorithm. I'm juggling my time as a college student, an artist, and video editing, so a little bit of boost will help this channel a lot, and that lets me know that I'm doing a good job. My name is Neko Gitsune, and I make lore and commentary videos on this channel to keep you company. The first world quest starts in the Forest of Blessings. There are 2 quests that are available and are connected towards each other. I also want to recap this a lot more briefly because the world quest is divided into 3 parts, which the 3rd part unlocks after you finish the first 2 quests. You can start whichever you prefer first, whether it's in the Rainsong Pond or in the Kingdom of Breezes and Bells, but for this video, I'll start in the Rainsong Pond. The quest starts with the residents of Rainsong Pond organizing a bouncing contest in order to find a champion to rescue the princess. However, this contest is not really all about finding a champion, but is also a tradition. We then meet Farbird, who is apparently the reigning champion, only to find that Farbird failed the contest finals from the get-go. Estampy, Farbird's opponent, did not accept this victory and demanded a rematch from the referee, Holero. So we tried to convince Farbird, but he professionally declines and accepts defeat regardless. The traveler did not give up and caught up with Farbird, leaving Holero and Estampy, but the Lotus Leaf we stand in with Farbird suddenly moves on its own despite it already being fixed. There we tried to help Farbird, but once we are about to get off from the leaf, Estampy and Holero move one of the leaves to knock ours, so we continue to ride the stream. There, Farbird did everything by himself by bouncing on top of the leaf to control the stream, and here, we fell from the waterfall. While we glided from the fall, Farbird leaped highly, jumping from the falling leaf to another side of a cliff. Here, Estampy and Holero reveal that they're the one who moved the leaf from the very beginning, and they do this to prove that Farbird is the champion they're looking for. Despite Farbird sliding himself, he eventually admits victory and becomes the champion to rescue the princess. We then arrange our meeting at the Kingdom of Breezes and Bells, assuming it's the princess from the kingdom that needs help, while Farbird prepares himself. This is where the Rainsong Pond part ends. I swear to God, recapping this is a tongue twister. Moving on to the Kingdom of Breezes and Bells, which here I'll recap the story slightly more detailed because there is plenty of necessary context needed to be spoken. The quest starts with Simes, the princess of Kingdom of Breezes and Bells, having an argument with her 2 counselors, Seborn and Suvache, regarding to reclaim a relic herself and not someone else. The relic is needed for them to find a guardian. Apparently, a guardian is needed to save the kingdom. Seborn and Suvache of course deny this, but Simes wants to claim it herself regardless. With the Traveler and Paimon joining the conversation, we then volunteer ourselves to become the Guardian and proceed to the trials. Simes told us that the dragon has attacked the Kingdom of Breezes and Bells, causing the trial area's air current to become haywire, and the relic's sacred ground break apart, causing the trial's ground difficulty to increase dramatically. But on the other hand, to Simes, the increased difficulty is a better way to find Guardian of the Kingdom. So Simes just takes the best out of every situation, an admirable leader indeed. So we do just that. Our job is to help our companion squirrel to fly across the current, and in this case, we help Simes to complete the trial. After defeating monsters trying to ruin the trial, we complete the trial and claim the relic. There's something engraved in the relic. Stories follow rules, unfolding in cyclical patterns, but each should follow its own course. On cue, Saborn and Suvache appeared after finishing their errands, and from here we tried to touch the relic in order to get the relic's acknowledgement, which surprisingly, despite already fitting the criteria of becoming the Guardian, the relic did not acknowledge us. Simes was like, you know what, fuck it, both of you are the Guardians now because I said so, and from here we are the Paladins of Breezes and Bells. While Saborn and Suvache being pessimistic because they don't find the Guardian per tradition's way, the Traveler told everyone that the Rain Song Pond is also currently choosing a champion, which we already know that Firebird is already the winning champion. This is where the Traveler connects the dots. By contest from the pond, they meant the trial, and by champion, they meant the Guardian. While the Traveler explains as to what happened, Simes remains interested despite knowing Firebird's pessimistic personality. Simes then prepares herself to go to the Rain Song Pond, and this is where the Kingdom of Breezes and Bells quest ends. After a while, we finally beat Firebird and Holero, who already arrived at the kingdom. However, there is a problem. The obvious one is, of course, while Firebird is a champion at jumping, he is not a champion at flying. Secondly, the relic did not acknowledge Firebird as the Guardian of the Kingdom. Third, Firebird is chosen by a committee and not by a royal. Fourth, Simes is not trapped in a huge tower, so there's no reason for Firebird to rescue, yet alone get her. Finally, no matter how good Firebird is at jumping, the trials are clearly not made for him at all because he is a paper frog, unlike Simes who is a paper flying squirrel. Like what the Traveler said, while Firebird is the perfect candidate on paper, the details just don't work out. Regardless, they're going to save the kingdom anyway and head their way to the Cave of Remembers, where the previous princess, princes, and champions disappeared into obscurity, and they also bring the relic along with them. Now, I know what you're thinking. What the heck are they trying to save here? What is going on? We are almost at the end of the quest, yet we have a very huge plot hole that is yet to be explained. Even for me, when writing this script, I was like, what is this huge plot hole that they did not explain? Why are the frogs needed to save the princess when she is more than capable to stand for herself? Why are we here? And what is the cause of the kingdom's crisis again? We eventually got our answer from Saborn and Suvache, who told us that the kingdom's existence came from something that is called calling. Before the Kingdom of Breezes and Bells, there were many other kingdoms alike, which were also established to fulfill their calling. However, these kingdoms failed to fulfill their calling because they failed to find the Guardian acknowledged by the relic. Because of this, these kingdoms eventually experienced disasters like the villagers lose their voice and some of them have their water supply dried up in an instant. Eventually, these kingdoms disappears to oblivion, which is why they needed a Guardian acknowledged by the relic. This goes the same with the frogs in the Rain Song Pond. The reason why they keep on going with the contest despite already finding their champion is also it's their calling to rescue the princess. It's just that the princess that they need to save is nowhere to be found, and we see that from Simes, who doesn't seem to need any help at all, and if anything, she is far more capable than what people might have thought. This apparently goes on, and the frogs of the Rain Song Pond have to keep training the frogs until they can fulfill this calling. Finally, at least we have an answer as to why we needed to do this in the first place. You're lucky I remembered to talk to them before I advance onto the story because we won't be able to find out the answer once we complete the quest. We finally arrive at the Cave of Eerie Murmurs, where we heard voices from other princess and princes from fallen kingdoms. They were trying to find answers but eventually couldn't find any and ended up falling here, lamenting about their past. Simes told us that she never entered the cave herself because she didn't want to make Saborn and Suvache worry. But eventually she has to come in anyway, try to find the answer of her calling, and with the Traveler, Paimon, and Farbet helping along, we enter the cave. The moment we enter inside, we find some stories of other princesses, princes, and the champions who entered. The first story told us about a princess named Seoya, who was trying to find a guardian, and she even set up a trial ground by herself. Unable to find guardian as their resources start to decline, the princess put everyone to sleep, sealed off the land except her tower to wait the fated guardian. But the guardian never showed up, so she came to the cave alone, hoping to find answers, and vanished without a trace. The second story talks about a champion named Sibrolas, who wished to the goddess of creation to be gifted with a pair of wings, despite already jumping the highest. Just like Farbert, Sibrolas has won 7 bouncing contests in a row and even got the title himself, the Winged Sibrolas. One day, he came in second. Because he thought he couldn't fulfill his role as the champion to save the princess, he announced the retirement right there and then, and never to be heard from again. Each story ends with the same quote from the relic: "Stories follow rules, unfolding in cyclical patterns, but each should follow its own course." We then met with another trial, which we then finished the trial once again. Eventually, a manuscript talked to us, and here we find them to be the princess and the champion from the story I just talked about, Seoya and Sibrolas. Sibrolas told Farbert to go back and keep waiting on the princess to save, while Seoya told Simias to leave and wait for the guardian to come. No answers are given in the cave, only more questions that are yet to be answered. Stories follow rules unfolding in cyclical patterns, but each should follow its own course. They kept on saying that over and over and over again, with both of the manuscripts telling the gang to keep waiting. The gang continued to finish the next trial. As we finished everything, nothing happened. Not even the relic reacted. Like last time, the papers told the gang to keep waiting, and for once, Paimon's reaction is the same as mine. What are we even waiting for? Damn, I can hear her voice already. There is nothing in the cave, and from here, Simest realizes that there literally is no answer in the cave of Eerie Murmurs. They waited for so long, not knowing to wait, to the point they became manuscripts. The better way to describe it is that these papers deceived themselves, thinking if they keep on waiting, something might happen, some miracle might happen. The answer that they want might just appear to them. So Simes takes it to herself. Waiting only takes more waiting, so she will take on to the next step by not standing idly and see her kingdom to be perished just like that. She is willing to find the guardian, even if she has to seek it to other lands, other kingdoms, or even to other worlds. Farbert, inspired by Simes, also lent his hand to the princess to find the guardian that she is looking for. Eventually, the relic lit up. The gang fly to the sky, and eventually we hear voices, assuming from the previous princess, princes, and champions. Their voice grew more hopeful. As we land, the previous princess, princes, and champions seems to leave the cave. The relic has finally lit up, and in fact, while it's not looking for anyone strong or a knight in a shining armor, it wants to find someone who is willing to move forward despite their fears. Both Simes and Forbert are now the guardians. While it's true Simes has found the guardian, she is willing to keep the trials as is to train future guardians. So if any disaster happen, they can solve the issue together. Forbert also wants to be trained by the princess as well. We also get the answer as to why there are such callings in the first place. Why does the Kingdom of Breezes and Bells need a guardian, and why Rain Songpon needs to find a champion to rescue the princess. Traveler then remembers the legend that Nilu told us in the main quest. Turns out that this is the work of the goddess of fate. She is the one who wrote the quote in the relic, and because she is the writer per se, she pretty much writes everything that is currently happening right now with the Traveler as the outside variable. Basically, all the origami papers in the world of Simulanka are made by the manuscripts of the Goddess of Fate, and the Goddess of Creation essentially made them into reality. So everything that has happened is already predetermined. The quest ends with us parting ways with Simest and Farber, and thus the Forest of Blessing quest ends. Thank God, I need a break from all that. My brain hurts from recapping this. The second quest starts with us talking to Kirara outside of the metropole. Thankfully, this quest is voiced. If you use English voice acting, it might be easier for you to get the gist of the quest, but for me, I am using Korean. Despite that, it's a lot easier for me to recap this quest because this quest doesn't divide into many parts, so it's a lot easier for me to keep it fast and short. Anyways, we hear a voice from whom the game calls the narrator, which I think suits well because the narrator basically told us what to do while we do the quest. The narrator told us to enter the cave, which he called the future marquee about to be. We then found a witness pact. You can read it yourself by pausing if you want to, but basically, this pact says no more hurting each other towards 3 tribes. However, they will eventually face the truth once the Faded One plucks the clockwork key, revealing 2 fictions and 1 history, or basically to uncover the truth of the past. If they haven't found the real history, then they will contend in private within permissible limits. Of course, the Traveler plucked the key, which makes us the Traveler to be the Faded One. And after that, we meet 3 toy soldiers who are selected as authorized historical supervisor from their own tribes, which also to be great tribes from Simulanka. Albizi from the Blue Clan, Boberano from the Yellow Clan, and Kape from the Red Clan. Which, if you realize by now, their name starts with the order of alphabet, but their color is reversed from the color of rainbow. The truth of the past they meant is which clan that defeated the old dragon. Not the dragon that's been acting up, but the dragon that came before that, essentially as to how the metropole was made to begin with. There are 3 conflicting histories, and our job as someone who plucked the clockwork key is to help these 3 clans to find the real history of what is the real truth, and declare the clan with the real truth as the supreme clan. So we'll help them, starting with Kape as we head to his clan's sacred area. While we help Kape, he told us that his clan defeated the dragon by taking turns from day and night. There's one thing that I need to emphasize and will be a theme across the quest. The clockwork key that we receive works similarly like the Goddess of Prophecy's blessing. We use the key to place it on a pedestal in order to rewind time, connect dots that resembles every clan's sigil, and the blueprint made by the Goddess of Fate will appear. There's also an interesting thing that Kirara said. The moment Albizi, Boberano, and Kape explained how the key works, she had a flashback of her delivering a package to Sumeru Academia. So this could heavily emphasize that she was present during the Sumeru Samsara fiasco. Anyways, after we defeat the enemies, we get the blueprint and it turns out that Kape's history was indeed true. We know this because there is the Goddess of Fate's signature, and if you see the signature, it's none other than Anda's daughter's signature because AA stands for Anya M. Anda's daughter, which is her full name that we learned from the main quest. Despite already finding out the truth, the narrator tells us to see what the other documents have to say, which Kape called him out for forcing the agenda on them and not being objective. But regardless, they go to the next site. Next is Boberano, whose sacred site is within the Constellation Metropole. His history is that his clan outwitted the dragon and stole the dragon's treasure. All of the clan's treasure lies behind his clan's sacred site. All we need to do is answer the question from the door and we'll get the pedestal from the clockwork key. After we do all that, we then find the blueprint and it turns out his history is also indeed true. The way Boberano's clan defeats the dragon is different, however. Unlike Kape's clan, who defeated the dragon the traditional way, Boberano's clan defeated the dragon with a math contest. Finally, Albizi's clan is located behind the Constellation Metropole's castle. His clan, I wouldn't say defeat, but taught the dragon the way of empathy by consuming a serum to make themselves even bigger than the dragon to the point they can sit on top of the dragon. However, as of now, the serum doesn't make you as big as it used to be, but instead make you lose empathy instead. After taking a detour and finishing the puzzle, the story is, in fact, true. However, instead of sitting on the dragon, it's sandwiched them between the 2 toy soldiers. Okay, game. So, all truths are now, well, the truth, because all of them are signed by the Goddess of Fate. So what happened now? Well, Albizi, Boberano, and Kape just accept the reality, and from then on, it is a happy ending as they vow to never argue and fight again. The narrator doesn't seem to accept this, but tells them to take a break as the story continues the next day. The next day, we found Kape laid down on the ground, seemingly dead, but don't worry, he's not dead. The game assures you he is just unconscious. We met a detective who also tries to help the case, and on cue, The blessing from the goddess of prophecy triggered. But wait, isn't the blessing already taken by the goddess of prophecy? So why did it trigger? The detective told us to rewind time and investigate what happened, which not really happened. It happened just like that, without anyone being the suspect. However, there's another thing that happened. Cape just fall, and seemingly there's something missing being removed by the memory. The detective only talks about the three clans not finding the real truth of the past and suspecting Cape to make it up about the passing away to find a source of a new problem to make the metropole feel alive again, which is the most bullshit thing I heard from a detective. Kirara, Paimon, and the traveler investigate the surrounding area and find a pickaxe being hidden. Once they put the pickaxe in the memory, it turns out that the detective is the culprit all along. So we chase the detective. Also, it turns out that the detective is the narrator all along. Wow, shocker, everyone gasped, and apparently all the glue created in Simulanka are created by him. And it turns out the narrator is the first ever being created by the goddess of creation, and knows that everything in Simulanka is a fairy tale created by the goddess of fate. And also, the blessing from the goddess of prophecy that we just witnessed is also triggered by him because of his narrator powers. So, why he did what he did? Essentially, it's because he refuses to believe that fairy tales are made for kids and genuinely believes that the fairy tale is being made for something more than that. The goddess of fate made the truth of the dragon and the metropole, and those truths are actually her drafts that she couldn't decide which she liked the best. Her cat apparently trod all over the draft, resulting in the three drafts to fold into one, and eventually, she just went with all three. The narrator is essentially aware that the traveler, Paimon, and Kirara are not fictional, and says that he doesn't even know whether anyone even understands what he feels because everyone is fictional. The moment that three clans know the truth, they just go along with their lives and not try to investigate more. He tries to make them curious as to why it is the way it is, perhaps maybe make them aware. He even said it himself. Are we real? Narrator also told us that the clockwork key was placed by all three clan ancestors and it would have been easier for the trio to remove it themselves if they cooperate. As we are about to go back to confess everything, the goddess of fate speaks, although in this case, she is an echo, or what she called herself as footnote. Narrators and footnotes should never come across each other because the narrators spoke for the story while the footnotes spoke to explain the context of the story. The reason they can speak is because of a cat that happens to appear, which refers to Kikaka, who doesn't like this treatment at all. She said that fairy tales are made for kids to teach the kids how the world works. Also, I think I should repeat the goddess of fate's words to make you understand this better, since this will be important later in our theory section. Fairy tales may be works of fiction, but at their heart lies an internal logic that is undoubtedly real-world truth in a condensed form. Perhaps they simplify good and evil, and perhaps they hide the darkness in metaphors. She then ends with the world of fairy tale can be as real as it can be, including the narrator and the clan trio. The quest ends with the narrator getting arrested for half a day, and the gang tell the truth to the trio. They just didn't try hard enough to get the key because, well, they did it individually, like they did it for themselves, like one by one. The trio wanted to explore the world outside one day to see the world by themselves later. This is where the Constellation Metropole side quest ends. Also, I think this is a good time to theorize what the Goddess of Fate told Kirara in her dream when she was transported to this world. You are now the Puss in Boots of Simulanka. Now go, uncover the truth and save the narrator of this world. You know, I was about to show off my female voice acting, but for the sake of everyone, let's not do that. The next quest is in the Broken Sea, where we enter a seemingly broken down lighthouse, which of course, you already know who did it at this point. We then meet a toy named Esnawa, who told us the lighthouse name is called Brick House Lighthouse. He approached us when we accidentally took off the light from the lighthouse, to which he replied that he needed the light to be taken out. The lighthouse is meant to be a guide for Simulanka residents to go back home after their journey outside of Simulanka. Esnoa then asked us to find somewhere hide to light in order to guide residents of Simulanka that explore the world beyond whenever they want to come back home, especially that his friend Roselle seems to be in trouble going back. Esnoa asked us to go to the highest island that Roselle told before he left, so we go there, to which the light didn't work as much. Penuel, the caretaker of that island, told us to go to a whispering isle in which he told us to go to wish upon the goddess of fate to hang the light up. He told us to bring gifts, but he doubts that the goddess still grant wishes given he already tried that before but it didn't work. There's a little side quest from Penuel which is not that relevant, but long story short, we help him to get along with his other friend, Chauvigny. There are 3 gifts that we need to give, that being an armor, a weapon, and a wish. Penuel already placed the armor one when he made his wish before. Now we need 2 more, to which we place the lighthouse lamp and a sword that you can find in the mines. I also want to mention that the weapon and the armor are parts of Durin's body, to which the game tells us that the goddess really liked the gift. Eventually the light turned into a moon and we see Roselle coming back home from his journey. After Esnoa told Roselle what's been happening while he was away, Roselle told us that he will live again to venture the world outside of Simulanka and thank us for helping him to get back home. This is where the Broken Sea quest ends. After you finish the quest, we can see both Roselle and Esnoa having a conversation about whether they want to explore together. Depending on your choice, the next server reset will determine Esnoa's decision. If you choose the first option, Esnoa will leave a letter to the swing where you had your conversation with, and you'll meet him and Roselle in Fontaine as a clock and as a box respectively. If you choose the second option, he will stay in the Broken Sea. It's also worth noting that while Simulanka residents can leave their world, their physical body won't. And we see this with Roselle and Esnoa, Grandpa Almond, Paddy Sarah, and Stream as squirrels and frogs, while Mini Durin stays in Waterer's mind. We'll talk about this later. Finally, the final quest is, surprisingly, in Sumeru, where Cole told us there's something big happening there while she was exploring Simulanka. This quest is a very chill quest and it's a lot easier for me to recap because the plot point is very straightforward, so I'll keep it short. Basically, we meet Farazan, who told us there is an awful detective novel from House of Dana that's been popular and is rumored to have treasure in it because there's so many circled names, and has been borrowed by many people lately. We tried to uncover this mystery by meeting all the cast of Sumeru, and by all I mean all of them, including Sethos. It's a shame that this quest is unvoiced, but whatever. Turns out that the book has no treasure at all. It's just an awfully written detective novel. It was Kave who accidentally circled the culprit's name with an ink, making it permanent and a spoiler for future readers. Alhaitham borrowed the book after Kave returned it to the House of Dana and noticed Kave's scribble. In order to avoid spoilers, Alhaitham circled another name and Thinari circled another name, and it continues on, but to the point of circling names now lost its meaning and turned into a misunderstanding. Alhaitham teases Kave once again for making such a mistake, and thus the whole side quest of Simulanka finally ends. Honestly, I'm just happy to even see Alhaitham again. Man, I love this man so much. Now let's dissect everything that we learned from all of these quests. The theories section is gonna be shorter because I already told most of my theories in my last video. Let's start with the first quest. While I don't think we will explore something very similar to what is in the story, I do however believe that we might see some sort of representation in each tribe. From the Natlan trailer, we learned that Mavuika is running a tournament for the people of Natlan to attend, and it's more than likely to be a sporting competition. If we take Simulanka's quest into account, this might be the way of each tribe is going to pick who is going to be the representative of each tribe, finding who is the best each tribe to attend the competition. If it's true, then the main casts are more than likely to be the contestants from Walani, Kachina, Kinik, Sitlali, Shilonen, Yansan, and Taska. If that's not the case, then there's another possibility that the main cast are going to be the finalists, which I do believe that's a lot more possible. There's also another way to see this. Perhaps this could be hinting at a world quest of how tribe leaders are appointed. Maybe after we witness someone become a tribe leader, we see their responsibility and maybe get a chance to see what their predecessors think or what they have done. Or perhaps they are in charge of guarding their most treasured relic or artifact. If you watch my last video, I mentioned that each tribe might have something in possession to sustain something. And if this thing, let's just say primal fire for now, extinguishes or destroyed, then something bad might happen to the tribe, just like how Kingdom of Breezes and Bells might be destroyed if they don't found their guardian. I actually wrote half of this script during Natlan's newest teaser, and I do believe this is something that each tribe needs to sustain. And looking from the design, it seems this is from Nana's Kayan, aka Kachina's tribe. There's also this frame here which seems to be from Mestli, while on this tribe, where it resembles the fire from Natlan's trailer. But to me, I don't think this is the fire because the place surrounding it looks too open and perhaps this is only a puzzle. Of course, I could always be wrong and they could be just a decoration, but this frame here looks like a relevant part of a big world quest. Perhaps this contains abyssal energy because of the tint purple in the middle. Speaking of tribes, let's proceed to the next quest, which I believe holds more significance when it comes to Natlan's plot. I know that each nation has their own set of titles when it comes to their Archon, for example like Barbados as the god of freedom, Morax as the god of contracts, and so on. So far, each nation has their own reason as to why they are the deity of who they are. Like for example, Fenty's ideology on freedom is so people can no longer hold onto their past for too long and move on to the future, which we do see this pattern a lot on Animal Vision users. Yes, the dead friend meme is a thing and it's real, albeit not everyone is experiencing this. It's also the same with Zhongli, who held contracts so highly to respect others, and just like a rock, he persevered towards their contracts he made because he respected them. And we can see the theme of preservation the same way towards GeoVision users as well. As to the Nation of War, we don't really have a solid reason as to why they have war in the first place. What is the trigger? Could there be more than just that? It's the same like the first quest, where we literally don't know why they need to have a guardian or champion in the first place. Of course, there's a goal, but the core trigger remains unknown until the very end. Even then, we realize that ourselves from remembering Nilu's legend about the goddesses. To me, the first and second quests are related to Natlan's plot, or perhaps the world building. They don't know why they have war in the first place, and each tribe has their own ideology in which tribe is the most righteous. Although the reason for why wars happen in Natlan is still ambiguous, it could be something similar as to the second quest of Simulanka, perhaps trying to argue which of them is the best tribe, which kind of align with the lore of Talking Stick, where the sky starts to become dark, everyone is still arguing which tribe is the best tribe. Speaking of that, by the way, the lore of Talking Stick seems to confirm my suspicion that there is something wrong with Natlan's sky. Although the reason why the sky turns dark could be more likely that the lore's timeline is aligned with the Cataclysm. The ending of this weapon's lore is that Tenok and his friends along with their Saurian companions head on war, assumingly abyssal monster from the Cataclysm. We might learn more about Tenok later once Natlan is released, perhaps within a world quest. I also want to mention something interesting mentioned by the Goddess of Fate, aka Understarter, whose statement is a nail to the coffin of my theory from the last two videos. Understarter indeed seems to know a lot more about the world than meets the eye. The fact she casually says that fairy tales are condensed forms of real-life events do mean that her work, perhaps with her other Hexen Circle members, are more than likely based on their exploration within the Irminsul. I say that because Lisa told us that Hexen Circle are highly interested in Irminsul exploration, and Understarter is a short-lived species, so it's more than likely that her works are based on her exploration with other witches, and make them into fairy tales in order to protect the actual history of the world, and of course also for herself, just to fulfill her hobby as a writer. Well, not really hobby, I mean it's her job, but whatever, you get the point. Now let's move on to the third side quest, and this is going to be my wildest theory so far. Are you ready? The main thing that I find about the third quest is how everyone is free to explore the world outside of Simulanka, and perhaps this could be something that we might explore as well, either from a world quest or perhaps the ARCHON quest itself. According to the Book of Parent Harry, Kynrians have an orphanage in order for them to find descendants, and they try to find them by welcoming the people from the stars above. This could be something that we might explore as well. However, there's also an important thing that I would think people don't really think too much about, or perhaps a crucial part that people don't notice, or perhaps they know but think it's insignificant. Remember how the people of Simulanka left the world to explore Teyvat? They cannot bring their physical body to the world, and instead, we see them using other bodies instead. Grandpa Almond, Padisara, and Stream as animals, Mini Durin inside Wanderer's mind or perhaps invisible, while Roselle and Esnoir as a box and a clock. Now, remember Arlecchino? Perhaps she has the same concept as this. She is confirmed to be a Kynrian, and to boot, a descendant from the Crimson Moon dynasty. There's a very high chance that she is a descendant from one of the kids in the orphanage, and her body that she is using right now is not her real body. Perhaps her boss battle is a true form, or maybe there's more than that. It's also interesting how the game never explains why she is glitching in the first place. In the book of Parent Harry, there's a ritual for a child in the orphanage to transcend from world to world. Since she is the descendant from the Sade dynasty, perhaps this could be the reason why she is glitching in the first place, and maybe she is unable to sustain her body for too long, because if she did, her curse will engulf her current body and perhaps show us her true form. So, what am I trying to imply here? Let's take in more fresh approach from the most recent teaser that we received, shall we? In the new teaser, we see the Traveler is still using the Hydro element. And in such a case, this is weird because this never happened before in other nations. Even in other teasers, this never happened. The moment we step into New Nation, their element changed and we see this consistently from Mondstadt to Fontaine. So why is it still Hydro despite we're already in Natlan? Heck, we are already inside Natlan at this point, and judging from the visual and Natlan's known description, this area seems to be Nanatskayan, Kachina's tribe. There is a very concerning possibility that the Pyro Archon is already dead, and there is no Pyro Archon at all. Even worse, maybe both the Archon and the Sovereign are already dead. Thanks to Cat with Blue Hat from his video, we know this because we had a conversation with Venti that the power we take are indeed have something to do with the Archons. And combining the knowledge that we got from Huvellette that Archon's power are stolen from the Dragon Sovereign, there's a very high chance that the Archon or the Sovereign is no more. So, who is Mavuika? Isn't she the Archon? Well, this is where the crack starts. Mavuika could likely be Murata. Perhaps this is not even her true self just yet. We know from the manga that Venice's tribe are the children of Murata, which in this case, the tribe is blessed with Murata's features, especially their red hair. This couldn't be a coincidence that her hair is also red. I know that some of you might think that it's red because the Archon is the embodiment of Pyro, but the thing is, that's not always the case with the Archons because Nahida and Fossilo are the Dendro Archon and Hydro Archon, yet their hair is white. Venti is the Anemo Archon, yet his hair is dark blue. So it could be possible that Mavuika here is trying to perhaps revive herself, maybe her prime self. Or maybe something even crazier. Mavuika could be someone that is not from Teyvat. I would not say that she is a descender because at this point we already know who the 4 descenders are, that being Fanes, Second Who Came, the Gnosis' body which we don't know the name of, and the Traveler. Perhaps she is someone outside of this world, and her current body right now is not her true form. Perhaps the Phoenix we see here is the true form, and it's very interesting that we see Phoenix right now and never seen it before Natlan. What makes it more interesting is that she has symbols that resemble the symbol of Khaenri'ah. While I don't think she is Khaenri'an, perhaps she knows a lot of things that happen in Khaenri'ah, or perhaps went through something similar like the children from the Crimson Moon Dynasty's orphanage. As to why Mavuika wants to revive Murata, it's unknown, but there could be a reason related perhaps the awakening of Celestia. Even in Natlan trailer here, it seems to show she is trying to revive someone. It could be the reason why the name of the Archon quest is the Incandescent Ode of Resurrection. It's also interesting how Pyro in this game seems to relate with life and resurrection, and this theme is quite consistent with Hu Tao's Funeral Parlor, La Signora, Alekino, and now it seems the theme is going on with Mavuika trying to revive Murata, or perhaps the Sovereign. Combine that with the enslaved said about the God of War's secret, aka Mavuika's secret. This might be the secret she is trying to hide for so long, and perhaps this is why Natlan is rather closed off from other nations in the first place. Once the Pyro Archon or the Sovereign is revived, then perhaps this is where we finally get the power of Pyro. Or maybe even better, we will obtain the power and perhaps the Pyronosis itself.
Huh? What? Oh. Okay.
It's very interesting how all quests in Simulanka barely touch anything about Natlan, and it seems to be touching more on what to expect once we reach the Sade Nation. Of course, it's important to note that just because the summer event usually foreshadows future content plot doesn't mean it's 100% accurate either. Even for me, I feel like I'm writing fanfiction at this point because of how outrageous my theory sounds. But again, that's the beauty of theory crafting. It is ambiguous until it's debunked by the game. Hopefully, you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please consider giving it a like and comment so the channel can be noticed by the algorithm. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys on my next video. Ciao! Mata!